All right, we are live. Guys, we're going to have such a good conversation today. I am so excited for you guys to meet Sailynn. So I've actually known her probably for like 5 years now, I think at this point. She is what I would call like an OG from the Clubhouse days. For those of you who were on Clubhouse during the pandemic and that was your way of connecting with people, she was like an OG, building a huge following there, moderating rooms, connecting in. And so that was how we initially connected. And I've been following her and seeing all the work that she's been doing on social media and everything, and kind of how her business has evolved from those days. So we recently had this conversation, and I thought I have to bring her on so you guys can get to be in her space and learn from her. Because one of the things that she's done is she's scaled a huge business of her own, but then got to, and you can kind of share your story, but then really now works with people to help avoid this kind of burnout and getting to a point where you're really just attracting the right people, not like the masses, so that you can really laser in on who's your ideal client, who's your ideal person. And so that avoids this burnout, which I think is so like a relevant conversation for so many women entrepreneurs, because people want to start businesses, they want to grow this, but they don't really understand the effort that it takes, and they set up systems that are not sustainable. And so Sailynn and I both came from direct sales backgrounds, different companies, but built these, huge businesses, and really so kind of have a firsthand experience about what that's like. So if you are joining us, put in the chat, tell us where you are joining us from. Are you on LinkedIn? Are you on Facebook? If you're watching the replay, comment, because we want to see, we'll go back and we'll comment. And I am going to share throughout the event, Sailynn has a really great gift for you. So I'm going to put it up here now, just if you're joining in and you want to grab it, but it's a free blueprint to growing a thriving business. So if you want to grab that really quick now, and then we'll bring that back in throughout the time, but I see some of you hopping in. So comment, tell us where we're coming from. And if you have a business, share your business with us. But so Sailynn, let's kind of like dive right in. So maybe kind of how did you end up, well, tell us exactly like what you do, how you serve people, but how you ended up doing that.
Yeah. So thanks so much for having me. I can't even believe it's been like 5 years since we met. But basically what I help women entrepreneurs do is implement the 4 core pillars that every successful business has in order to get it scale ready to $1 million. Because here's the thing, a 6-figure business is great, but in 2025, with the cost of things going up and up and up, most of us need 6 figures plus to put in our pocket to live our epic lifestyle. And so many women are like, no, I'm good with 6 figures. But then you get there and you realize like, ooh, that's really not checking all the boxes for me. And so $1 million is where essentially you have $1 million in business revenue. It's where you're making that impact. It's where you're living your best life. It is where you have the freedom and flexibility to do what you want when you want. So that's what I help women do. How did I get here? Because I was burnt out myself. So I purchased a senior home care franchise in 2007 with this dream of unicorns and rainbows, that just everything was going to be amazing once I had this business of freedom and time control and all of those kinds of things. And 3 years in, when I should have been celebrating my first million in business, I was actually sitting in my car at 9 a.m. on a weekday, crying my eyes out because I had just covered for another staff member who had called out sick. And at that point, I really drew that line in the sand and I said, something has to change, because if it doesn't, I'm selling this. This is not what I signed up for. I was working 80+ hour weeks. We had $1 million business and it looked successful on the outside, but behind the scenes, it was draining, exhausting, fatigue. Basically I got up, I went to work all day, and then I went to bed. That was my life. And so I just thought, if this is what I signed up for, this is not what I want.
Yeah, that is definitely not. And how many of you guys relate to that, right? Like you sign up for one thing. So one of the things that we kind of talked about is that, you have this idea, and I've heard you say this people are this credential collector. collector. They collect all these credentials, and that this actually kills your credibility. Can you kind of explain a little bit more? Because I know for me, one of the things when I got into professional speaking, I was applying for these conferences, and I felt like because I didn't have all the fancy letters after my name. So actually during the pandemic, I actually went and did a bunch of certifications literally just so I could have those credentials. What's wild is I didn't feel like I learned anything new. I didn't have anything, but I felt like I needed this. And I sometimes think that we feel this pressure that we don't have the right credentials. So can you kind of talk a little bit more about that piece?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when I purchased my senior home care franchise, my parents now say to me, like, I can't even believe you did that. Like, why senior care, And I really knew nothing. I mean, I had seniors in my life, right? We had lost family members earlier. My neighbor did live to 112. But
What?
yeah, I know,
Where?
right? In Massachusetts. Yeah, she was my neighbor. I know,
Wow.
she was amazing. I know.
That's wild.
So, I had been around seniors. I'd been in nursing homes with my grandmother and that kind of stuff. And another grandmother had Alzheimer's, but it was like, why senior care? And I really had no idea what I was getting myself into, but I had no credentials. I had worked at a visiting nurse agency for 3 years. So I knew the industry, but I really didn't know. I worked in marketing and PR and fundraising. And so when I got into the business, so many people said to me, "Oh, are you a nurse?" And I was like, "No." And I was like, "Do I need to be a nurse?" And I was like, "Well, what do I need to be a nurse for?" Like, I'm helping people make breakfast. I'm helping them like have companionship. I'm helping them take a shower. Like, I give myself a shower every day. Like, I should be able to do that. So I've always had this thought of like, I didn't need these credentials. And then when I started coaching in January of 21, I've had in 5 years, 2 people ask me if I had a certification. And I'm like, no, I have 18 years of experience. If that works for you, like, great. If it doesn't, then you're not my people. And I think that's the thing. I was just actually talking with a girl today she's moving into coaching. She has 20 years of corporate experience in the field she wants to coach on. And I'm like, you do not need a certification in order to validate your self-worth or that you know what you're talking about. If you need business help building a business, get some coaching with that. And I'm not for or against certifications. I think what the thing about it is with certifications is they're not going to help you necessarily get a client or a customer, right? What they're going to help you do is make yourself feel better that you have some sort of certification. Like you said, you felt better, right? And the problem that I see is I teach a workshop called Craft Your Client Attracting Elevator Pitch. And in this workshop, I see these women get up and they're like, I have this certification, and this certification. And I'm like, that's great, but I don't know if you're a winner because you have all three, or if you're not a winner because there's like 30 and you only have 3. Right. And so that's the thing about certifications is really, I feel like they're filling like a void inside of you.
Interesting.
That you need in order to do what you want to do. Right. Because
this is fascinating. We have never talked about this, but so I have been teaching, like, I've been in business for 28 years, right? So I've been coaching women on different like personality styles, working within their strengths and stuff for almost 3 decades. And so I know this woman, and she, something happened in her job. I don't know if she got laid off or whatever, but she just went out and basically did these certifications, which the ones that she did were the ones that were like $3,500, $5,000, right? And she had the cash to do that. But now all of a sudden she is marketing herself as like this expert in this stuff. And I'm thinking, you literally 2 years ago, when I knew you did not know this, right? And yet somehow it's perceived as an expert because she's got the certification that she was able to buy, basically, right? Like, because you're paying for that, versus maybe somebody who's been working in that field. And it's interesting. So I live in New Jersey, and they're doing this with nurses. So in, nursing, you only had to have your 2 years, right, to get your RN. And then a few years ago, they said, okay, you have to now have a 4-year degree. So there are nurses who literally have been nursing, like on patient care for 15 years, and they have to go back now and get their next 2 years. And I'm just thinking, if I'm a patient, and I say this is my daughter's a cancer survivor, right? And has like multiple healthcare issues. So we've dealt with a lot of nurses. I any day over any day would I take a nurse with 15 years patient experience than somebody who got a 4-year degree and graduated last year. Like, let's be real, right?
Yeah. Well,
So
and
what you're
when you
saying
think,
is so true.
yeah, and when you think about like the college experience, my mom forced me to go to college. I'm glad she did now, but you know what I mean? I so many people go to college and get that certificate, that degree, but never use it in their
Yeah.
field, right? And so just because you have it, what is that going to help you do? Now, don't get me wrong, I love to learn. I have invested in tons of personal and professional development, but it's not a certification to prove my worth,
I
right? And
love
I
that.
just feel
Uh,
that the people who feel you need them are the people that you're going to attract. And the people who don't feel you need them, like myself and you, are the people we're going to attract people who agree with that. And that's okay.
yeah.
Right.
This is really key too, because obviously Sailynn and I both work with women, that so many women struggle with this. Am I good enough? Am I an expert? If you've ever hung out with me, one of the things I talk about is there's a biological evolutionary impact of why women do not claim to be experts in their field. And
Mhm.
so what this really speaks to me when you're talking about, are you doing it because you need it and it's going to really move the needle in your business, or are you doing it because you have to make yourself feel like you're good enough? Those
Yeah.
are really an evaluation, right? I'm going to throw this back up. I saw some of you more hop in. This is Saylynn's free blueprint to growing a thriving business. So you can grab this, and we'll be throwing this up throughout our live if you want to catch that with her. So one of the things that you talk about is how to really start instead of pitching, right? So many people, they do this. They show up to network, they show up to an event, or they're DMing somebody and they're just pitching, pitching, pitching. You really talk about like how you can separate yourself to attract people into your space and attract the right people. So what do you feel like you do differently that everybody else is kind of missing the boat on?
Yeah, so I have been networking for my entire business career, so 18 years. And I think, 18 years ago it was different, right? There wasn't as many businesses. What you would go to a meeting and there might be a couple in one field, but now you go to a meeting and it's like there's 10 realtors, there's 8 insurance people, like, and so you really have to stand out. And so when I assessed my revenue last year, I realized that the majority of my clients came from networking or speaking. And so I said, that's what I'm going to double down on 2025. And so when I started really getting into more networking groups, I realized that women didn't know how to communicate their value in 60 seconds and they were
Yeah.
missing their opportunity. So maybe it took you a half an hour to get there. You were there for an hour or two, a half an hour to go home. You are wasting 3 to 4 hours a day and you got 60 seconds. And so many of them are just on that networking circle, right? It's like, I try it, it doesn't work. I don't get any leads. So I go try a different group. And so,
Yes.
right,
Ooh, I see this so much.
right. And because you have your fabulous groups,
Yeah.
right? And you network. Networking is about building relationships. And that's how I grew a multi-million-dollar business, is because we built relationships with the people in our community. And that's what I do now. And so I reached out to my messaging coach. Here we go, I hired a messaging coach last year. And I said to him, I really want to set myself apart in the room, right? Because there's a million coaches out there now. I said, what would you say? And he said, there's 4 parts to it. And I was like, okay. And he said, the first part is you really need to speak to your ideal client. And I teach this workshop now. And the first thing I have them do is we want within those first couple seconds for them, like, when you say to a dog, would you like a treat? And he goes, oh, treat? Like, you hear that magic word, right? You want your ideal client to stop thinking about, oh my God, they're next. And I'm so nervous. And did I shut my curling iron off? And like all of this other stuff in their head. And you want them to hear that word that speaks to them, that they then tilt their head and say, she's speaking to me.
Hmm.
That is so key, because once you grab their attention, Then you can go in further and say, okay, here is a little bit more. And we talk about like the mistakes that they're making. And then we make a call to action. You know, what's the CTA at the end of your 60 seconds? So back to the credential collector, you know, these women that get up and say, hi, my name is Sailynn, I'm a business coach, and I have this certification and this certification and this certification. I just wasted like 10 seconds there. And I only got 30 to 60. It's not about you. It's about them. And you have to speak to them. That is the big difference.
So can you give us an example if you're at my networking event, and if you guys are looking for networking events, shameless plug, Hey Girl You
Yes.
Can, we have a networking event every single month. It is virtual. You can attend anywhere in the world. If you are watching this and you want a free ticket to, if you've never been, like if it's you're a member, you get it every month. It's part of your membership. But if you've never been and you want to come for the first time to check us out, just send me a DM and I will send you a coupon code for a complimentary ticket. You can come in, pick out, September, October, whatever date works for you. I will say what has been really awesome to me, because I've been on some online networking ones, and I'm sure you have too, where I had one where I literally hopped off. Like they went into breakout rooms and I was like, peace out. These are just, it was so bad. And so I had a girl say to me, she's like, yours is the best online networking event I've ever been to. And I was like, oh, this makes my heart so happy. So come hang out with us. But let's say Lynn's on there. Give us an example of how you would introduce yourself without pitching, and using kind of the strategies you're talking about.
Yeah. So first, I will totally vouch for your networking events, such great women that you can meet. But when someone says, okay, you're next, I'm like, okay, only 2% of women entrepreneurs hit $1 million in revenue. And I think that's crap. Here's why. It's because there's no secret to $1 million in business, right? All it takes is just 4 core pillars. And then I go from there, right? And what we did there was we hit them right away with a factoid that's like only 2%. And most women are like, what? That's ridiculous, And then I throw like, that's crap, which makes everyone laugh, right? And then what we did at the end, and that's not the full length, but is I alluded to 4 core pillars. And so what happens, and what I teach women, is when you have this, okay, I'm speaking to you, right? And then you allude to what you sell, essentially, your product, your service, whatever it is, people are going to come up to you afterwards and be like, what are those 4 core pillars, right?
Yes.
Like, I need to know what they are. So don't give away the whole wagon. You know what I mean? Like, just allude to something. Have a call to action that gets women coming up to you. On average, I have about 20% of the room come up to me, whether it's 10 people, whether it's 50 people, 20% of the room will come up to me after every event or send me a message if we're virtually networking and say, let's connect, because I need to know more, right?
Well, you spark curiosity, right? Like, now I'm curious. I have to know, what are these 4 pillars? Because what I'm instantly thinking is, which of them am I not doing? Yes. Which of them am I not doing that is stopping me from scaling to be that 2%, right? That is such a great, we always spark curiosity. And what I love about what you're focused on is that you start with something that makes people instantly go, huh, yeah. Right. And it reminds me, when I did my TEDx talk, my first line was, did you know that children laugh 150 times a day? And by the time we're adults, that gets down to I think 25 times a day. And that's an interesting stat, right? That makes you go instantly, right? Yeah. But it's a way to catch people's attention. Like when you have that kind of like, now you have to use a real one. You can't be like making one up. But I love that, like only 2, because I also think, and I talk about this a lot. Social media, while it's wonderful, it's also a wild west of fakeness. And what happens is you have all of these people talking about that. Oh, I did $1 million and I did a launch with 6 figures and I had nobody following me, but I sold $100,000. And like, people can lie. Let's be real. Like, you can absolutely just make up stuff. Yeah. And there's no way to verify it. There's no way to prove that. And so we have to, number one, be really careful who we're following, right? Mm-hmm. And again, we just talked about, people can just buy their credentials, right? Yeah. So you have to be really careful who you're following. I mean, I saw during the pandemic, did you see this? Like all of a sudden, overnight, everybody was a high ticket coach. And I'm like, yes. It's because you got fired. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, where did you come from? Like, who have they coached? Like, where have they, like, what is their proof of their pudding, right? But also that we can start to feel like everybody is hitting these millions of dollars and these hundreds of thousands of dollars and wondering why we're like not. And then you feel like a loser, right? And when you look at statistically, the average income of a woman in the United States, it's like less than 50 grand. Do you know what I mean? So I think that, so I love that you're hitting on something that speaks to people. And I love that you're sparking curiosity, because I would so much rather, and wouldn't you guys, I would so much rather attract people than have to go attack them.
Yep.
Right?
And that's the thing is so this workshop that I offer, the craft or client attracting elevator pitch, what it really does during the workshop is, sure, it gets you your 30 and 60-second pitch, but it opens their eyes to, wow, like I need to change how I speak to people. And then you can use that when you're posting on social media, when you're writing emails, when you're writing your sales page copy, when you're doing all of these things in your business, when you're talking to clients, right? And it's just a skill that you have to learn. And it's one of those things that when you learn it, that's when you can easily attract people. That's why 20% of the audience comes up to you.
It's coming to you.
And the second key is taking messy action. I just wrote a whole blog post on this week on taking messy action and perfectionism, because here's the thing, like I can give you this wonderful, elevator pitch, but if you don't go out there and try it and see how it resonates, like if no one says like, then something's off, right? We need to dig a little deeper. So you have to craft something that speaks to people, but then you got to test it. Go out there, use it a bunch of times, go to Tara's networking event and try it out and see if women resonate with it, or whoever your ideal client is.
Yeah. And even that piece, I think a lot of us struggle even narrowing down who that ideal client is. So many times I will talk to somebody and I say, well, who's your ideal client? And they go, well, women. Right? Or women between 25 and 55. Right. Yeah. And so even just that, being able to talk to that one person. You also talk about that kind of moving away from this expert in everything. So what do you mean by that?
I mean, it's so funny. I was just talking to a girl who specifically helps experts. And, I think there was a time where we could be like, it was valuable to be that jack of all trades, that Jill of all trades kind of deal. But in 2025 and beyond, you really need to be known for one thing, right? So when I go to networking events and someone's selling me their full-time business, their side hustle, and their passion project in 60 seconds, I have no idea what you're an expert at. I don't know what to talk to you about. And so what I coach women is, I'm like, I love the multi-passionate entrepreneurs. I am one too, right? I have multiple income streams. But when I'm pitching or introducing myself, I talk about one thing. Yeah. Maybe later in conversations, we talk about the other things I do, but pick one thing and be clear. And I'll give you a super secret behind the scenes, but as far as clarity and not knowing who your ideal client is I have a new offer coming out that is an AI bot that I trained that is exactly to help women nail down their ideal client. Because if you don't know who it is and you just say women or women over 40, like that's not enough. And I can tell you this personally, because that's when I struggled to build my online business, right? When I would say, oh, it's women 40 to 60 who are, have a business. Okay, well, that's like a lot of people, right? Yeah. And so this new AI bot that's coming out is one that takes my 18 years of experience and everything I have learned about business and entrepreneurship, online, in-person messaging, and all of that. Plus, I'm adding in support with it, but making it affordable no matter whether you're a brand new entrepreneur, whether you're at 6 figures or $1 million or whatever it is. So that way you can dive deeper and you can become that expert on one thing when you're speaking to someone in person, online, social media, emails, whatever it is.
I want to put here too, guys. I'm going to pop this in the corner. This is our events.
Right.
You can go here. You can just go to heygirlyoucan.com. But if you're interested in the networking, the September and October events are up there. So I'll put that up there too. So one thing that is interesting to me is that with your networking, and you talk about this relationship building, how do you evaluate if it's a networking event that you're going to continue to go to? Because what I see a lot of people do is exactly what you talked about. They go to one and they kind of evaluate, did I get a client? And if I didn't get a client, then that must not be a good event. Right.
Mhm.
Which has always been very strange to me. Right. Because I usually, unless I'm really specifically looking for something, I'm probably not going to do business with somebody who I just met the first time. And I'm certainly not going to refer a friend or, somebody that I know to somebody who I met once. Right. I don't care what their credentials are. I don't care how great. So how do you kind of evaluate this is really worth me showing up again and again versus not?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I have worked in 90-day increments my entire career. It's just how my brain has always functioned. It was like, okay, what is the one thing I want to focus on for 90 days? And then I feel that 90 days is a great time frame because it's long enough to test something, but also long enough that if it's not going as planned, you can kind of pivot midway and still see results, but not so long that if it totally tanks that you feel like you wasted a lot of time, right?
Mm.
And so every 90 days, I have a planning session. And what I do is I evaluate everything in my business, my metrics, my networking, my social media, like how I'm feeling, right? Like, what is my goal for the next 90 days? And this has been such a key process and system in my business because it allows me to pivot and it allows me to kind of say, okay, this is the focus for the next 90 days. So when I sat down the end of 24 and determined that, networking and speaking was how I made most of my revenue in 24, in Q1 of 25, I was like, okay, let's go for it. And at the end of March, I do it the last Thursday of the month, and I actually run a workshop on it. And the next one's coming up September 25th. Is you can sit down and look at, okay, what did we focus on and what moved the needle? And I have
Yeah.
a 3D framework that I coach clients on that really explains to them how to assess what you just did for 90 days and what to do with that information going forward, right?
Yeah.
And how to make business moves.
So it's almost like you're implementing the this 80/20 rule, right?
Yeah.
Like we talk about this like basic business 101. And this was something
Mhm.
really hard for me to grasp when I started my business because let's say I had 100 customers. I expected that I was going to get equal revenue from all of those 100 customers. And I remember the first time really hearing this 80/20 rule saying that 80% of my income was only going to come from 20% of my customers. And if I could really focus on those 20 and give them exceptional service, that was the key. And that's true on everything, right? Like, so when we do our marketing, because I see this a lot, and I would consider network marketing, like, right,
Yep.
you're marketing your business. A lot of times what I see people do is they'll do marketing, and then when they don't get results from 80% of the stuff, they think like that's a waste, but you're going to get 80% of your marketing results from 20% of what you're doing. So I love that what you're doing is you're every 90 days going, okay, what's that 20% and how can I double down into that? How can I do more of that?
Yeah.
I recently did that within growing my email list. So I was like really trying to, I had a big email list from when we were in Hey Girl, You Can back in
Yeah.
Clubhouse days, but I wasn't really, and you probably know because Sailynn was probably on it. I wasn't really consistent with it. I was kind of like all over the place. I had no strategy. And so last year I was like, I got to really like get like new people, fresh blood into my email list, get, some consistency going. And I was doing both bundles and summits. And what I realized was that I was getting people into the Hey Girl You Can membership from the bundles, but they didn't get me. Like
Yeah.
they weren't even sure why they were there. They had joined the membership, they didn't get the vibe, and so they just weren't really aligned. But the people who came in from summits, because they had seen me speak, they had gotten in my space, they got what I was about. They were like, I like this girl, she knows what she's talking about. Those are the people who really took advantage of the membership. So then I went, well, okay, I'm growing my email list from these bundles, but really, what's the point? right? Like what? So I have more people on my email list, but they're not really my ideal people. When they do join the membership, they don't really even like me. Do you know what I mean? Like, why am I doing this? And I really stepped back from saying, well, that's dumb. Let me find more places that I can speak at. So I love that that's what you're doing and that you're teaching people, like, find out your sweet spot. And I think it's different from all of us, right? It's like our personality, our strengths, what we're good at. Like,
Exactly.
I had a girl, we did a panel back in June, and she's built her entire business on Substack because she was a writer, and she found that that really like allowed her to work in her strengths. So I just went to, this is fascinating, I'll share this with you guys. I haven't talked about this on a or anybody actually really like publicly about this. So I went to a conference in July and I took a leadership class, and the girl was so brilliant. And she said, if you've ever done your Gallup, like your strength finders, have you done that? Like your 5 top strengths? She said, take your top 5 strengths, plug them into Chat GPT, tell it your business goals, and then have it create like a work plan for you that allows you to work within your strengths to hit your goals. So I do this, right? And it comes back with this plan. And I'm like, oh, I would love to do that. Oh, that sounds really fun. Oh, this. And then I thought, well, Tara, obviously all of these things you would like to do because they're all within your strengths, right? So it was so simple. But I'm what you're saying, I'm thinking you could take that concept and say, these are my strengths, these are my business goals, this is where I'm getting the majority of my clients from using my strengths. How can I and have ChatGPT tell you, right?
Yeah.
Like, so great. I was like, oh, this is like, it just gave me this full business plan. And I totally agree with Sailynn, guys, that 90-day strategy. I always teach that because I think most people, so this is interesting. Our company did a research, this was years ago. They did research on brand new people and how long do they stay in where they're focused. And it was 6 weeks. 6 weeks that people evaluate their long-term success based on what they achieve in their first 6 weeks, which is wild to me because I would have quit, like, if I had evaluated that. And so basically what the research was at that 6 to 8 week mark, you really need to connect with people because this is when they're starting to doubt. This is when they're starting to be like, what was I thinking? Should I really do this business? And I really believe that most people don't get to the Sailynn level. They don't get to that 6-figure level, certainly to that $1 million level, because they can't hang in longer than 6 weeks. And if they could just get to 90 days, they would start to see results. Right. So I love that that's what you teach.
Yeah. And, it's so interesting. I mean, the 80-20 rule. So when I had my franchise business, and we started digging into the metrics about 5 years in with some other neighboring owners, I looked at the 1,000 referral sources in my database. And again, 80% of our revenue was coming from just 200 of them.
Wow.
So we made the bold move to kind of stop talking to those 800, every single month like we were, and stressing ourselves out. And it was what I call shotgun marketing, right? It was like, hi, right? Versus, being like pistol laser kind of deal. And we built better relationships with that 20%. And that 20% then skyrocketed our business because we knew them better. They knew us better, right? And, when you work in 90-day increments, you're constantly saying to yourself, like, okay, I do this for 90 days. That's it. I had a coach when I got into direct sales who challenged me. I think I was in business maybe about 9 months and I wasn't seeing the results I wanted. And she said, commit to this for 90 days. And she gave us like a plan. And I was like, okay. And I was traveling and all of this kind of stuff, but I did it. I put my head down. 90 days later, I doubled my revenue.
Wow.
And it was just because you're focused on one thing. So inside of my Planning for Profit, my 90-day workshop, what happens is I'm like, one goal, one thing for 90 days. That's it. Not 10, not 3, 1. Like if you focus on one thing for 90 days, right? Then what is that? Let's simplify and let's focus.
Yeah. So I am going to have, so for you guys who are on Facebook watching, I did put the direct link into Saylynn's blueprint. It doesn't let me do that from here onto LinkedIn, but I'll go in and I'll do that so you guys can have access to it. And I'll put in all the notes. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, it's in the show notes below. So you'll be able to find, all those links and everything for her free guide. So a couple quick things as we wrap up. If you are looking for a community, if you're like, I have big goals, I have big dreams, I have things that I want to do. So you might have a business, you might be in the process of starting a business, or you have one, but you haven't been able to scale it. Really check out our Hey Girl You Can community. This is where you're going to get plugged in, because we are women. We are not meant to do life by ourselves. We are meant to be in community and being with other women who have walked that walk, or even just other women who can be like, that's not a crazy dream. That's not a crazy goal. Like, you can go for that, because you might have people in your life that aren't going to say that to you, right? Like,
Mhm.
your immediate circle, they may not naturally have your dream that God gave you. And they might be like, what are you thinking? And you're crazy. And those people, that you can love them, but they cannot be the people who are influencing your business, right? And so, if you are looking for your home, if you are looking for your community, check out Hey Girl You Can. You get 4 events a month. You get access to our entire library, all of our resources, all of our videos. You get networking. You get coaching sessions with Q&As. We do co-working time together. You get master classes every month. It's all really designed to grow you into the best version of yourself, so that you can grow your business. Because the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And if you show up with confidence and feeling good about yourself and having your systems in place, your business is going to thrive. Now, Sailynn, who is like the perfect, I know right now you've got this thriving blueprint, but you've got lots of different classes and stuff, right? So tell me what, like, if somebody wants to work with you, how do you work with people? Is it with groups? Is it one-on-one? Like, there's probably people watching who are like, I really do need that person who's going to help me scale to that next level.
Yeah, so I have a 90-day program that walks you through those 4 core pillars in order to scale your business. There's some one-to-one in it, and there is some group in it, and there's additional support levels for the women that need more support,
Okay.
because I recently just changed my program in the support levels, because I feel in 2025, we've all taken a course, right? And you know how you like to learn. You know whether you need more accountability. You know if you like to read versus watch. You know what I mean? Like, you know your support. And so you can go on there and get the foundational support level. And then there's a la carte options in order to add on more support, so you can build your own adventure.
Okay.
Um,
I love that.
but a great place to start, grab the free blueprint. That's going to explain to you what the 4 core pillars are. And then at the end, it'll invite you to learn more about the 90-day program.
Great. So if you're looking for the networking event, that's on the screen. You can see that. That'll take you right to our Eventbrite page. If you want Salynn's event, you can grab this here. And then if you're just looking for our community and you want to get plugged into the Hey Girl You Can community, this is your QR code here. As we finish up, one of the things that I came into my head is you were talking about the networking, where people show up and they've got their 10 different business cards. If you have not seen the new Freaky Friday movie 2, the one that just came out, which I have to say, so my daughter wanted to go to the movies. She never wants to go to the movies. She's not a movie kid because she has hearing loss from her chemo. So movies aren't great. We watch everything in closed caption, to the point where I'm so used to watching in closed caption now that when I watch something that's not in closed caption, I'm like, I can't hear this. And I'm thinking, Tara. So we go to, but she wants to go see this movie. And I'm like, yay, 19-year-old wants to hang out with your mom. You're like, I'll go do whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't have high expectations, but it actually is a super cute, super fun movie. It was way better than I thought it was going to be. So
Yeah.
I will throw that out there. But there's a scene where the Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan, they go in to see this like psychic guru, right? And she's the one who starts the catalyst, of course, of everybody trading places. But in the middle of it, she's a psychic. And then she's like, but I also do custom greeting cards. And I also do this. And she gives out like 6 business cards. It's a funny scene, right? But it made me think, I've actually been like, here it is supposed to be a comedy thing, right? Where this woman's like, I can tell your future. I can make you greeting cards. I can like clean your house. I can do this. And, and they're like, what do we do with all these business cards? But I've been to networking events where people legit have done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're exactly right. People go, I don't know. First of all, my brain can't even think about who I could refer you to.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't really know what you do. And I do think it's tough because I have 3 different businesses, right? Like, and they're very different. Like, one is in a direct sales, one is within, childhood cancer and working with parents who are medically ill. And then there's Hey Girl You Can. I mean, those are completely disconnected businesses. But I would never walk into an event and promote all 3 because people don't know what to do with me then. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think this is a really key, if you take nothing else away from what Sailynn is talking about, that when you show up, know even if you do 10 things, if that event, you only do one.
Yep. Just
At
one.
that event, you do your one and then utilize what she's talking about. How do you catch people's attention? How do you create curiosity? And I know that if that's something you're like, I love that concept, but I don't know how to do that, you do have a messaging course that helps people do that. So you can contact Sailynn. She can get you the info for that. If you're like, I need to know how to craft that a little bit better, you work with people doing that.
Exactly. And that's what that AI bot is going to be doing soon. So, yeah, definitely reach out. I am available on all social media at Sailynn Doyle, and connect with me. Let me know that you saw Tara and I
Yeah, come
here.
find us.
And what was your biggest aha? And then, really let's connect and get you to the place that you want to be. Because here's what I learned working in senior care. No one at the end of their life ever said they wish they had worked more. No, they all expressed their regrets, right? About, I wish I had better relationship with my spouse. I wish I had taken that trip. I wish like my kids liked me more, like all of those kinds of things. And so if there's one thing I can leave you with is live your one life, build a business that supports it and allows that. So yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for hanging out and coming on. I'm super excited to reconnect with you. And guys, again, everything will be in the notes if you're on the YouTube, and I'll go ahead and post this in here. But take the advice, go build your community, go network. And if you're like, I don't even know how to do that, don't worry. Everybody else showing up, they don't know what they're doing either. So just show up, build relationships, be the authentic you that you are meant to be, and trust that God is going to align the right people in the right place, the people who are meant to be served by the work that you're doing. So thank you, Sailynn, so much. And you all have a great afternoon. Bye, everybody.